Hello, we're here at Channel 18, and I have the distinct pleasure to have two women here from the Chase Library. And I enjoyed very much going and visiting them last Saturday for the first time in their wonderful space. And I would like to have you learn a little bit about the library from Pattie Tworek and Gradone, who are the people who really run the library. So perhaps one of you could start telling me a little bit about the history, because I think it's just fascinating. It's an unusual little library for our town.
Yes.
It is a little unusual library for our town. It's very quaint, and it's a neighborhood library, and we try to preserve its quaintness. It began in 1905. Ruth Nickerson, wife of Dr. John Nickerson, and Salome Chase, wife of Caleb Chase, thought that the young people in West Harwich needed to continue to read and to learn during the summer months. And the trek into the big library was too far to go on dirt roads. And so they began as the Sunshine Club. And there were people in West Harwich who volunteered to provide books for the children in West Harwich. And so we really began almost as a children's library, and then grew to become a village library. The library was incorporated in 1907, and the current structure sits at 7 Main Street, Route 28 in West Harwich. It's sandwiched, literally, between Vieira Restaurant, the old Friendlies, and the 7-Eleven on the corner of Division Street and Route 28. The land was donated to us from Dr. Nickerson, and the funds to build the library were from Caleb Chase of Chase and Sanborn Coffee. And I think, if I'm correct, the total building costs were about $5,000 way back then.
Right. And since then, we've been very fortunate to get the support of the Community Preservation Committee in Harwich to do a lot of restoration of our building. And so we have restored the floors to their original maple, which is beautiful. We have had our windows replaced to historic. We have had our fireplace hearth restructured, and so we've been very fortunate for their support. And go ahead.
It's all very beautiful. It's really a gem of a building, and beautifully restored. I would certainly recommend that anybody go to visit it. So perhaps you would like to talk a little bit about some of the things you have upcoming. I know you have a number of events coming up.
Yes, we do.
We have, coming up on April 11th, which is in a couple of weeks, we have Betsy Bray, who is an expert on Beatrix Potter, coming to visit us. And I think some people mostly remember Beatrix Potter from The Tale of Peter Rabbit. But Beatrix Potter was a very interesting woman. She was ahead of her time. She was a landowner in the Victorian times when women did not own land, and she donated a lot of that land for conservation purposes. She was a political activist. She was an artist. She was a very interesting woman. And Betsy Bray, our speaker, is a member of the only American member of the board of directors of the Beatrix Potter Society in England. So she's very knowledgeable. She's just recently gone to England. So she has some new pictures and new information, and we look forward to that very much. And that is April 11th at 2 p.m. at the Chase Library.
Sounds wonderful. Very interesting.
And I'd just like to mention that Betsy is the 4th speaker in our winter author speakers. And so from January through April, we bring authors to Chase Library to talk about their books, and how their books got started, how they researched their books, the characters in their books. Those are free events that are open to the public. They are announced in the newspaper. We started 4 years
4 years
ago.
ago.
And our attendance has increased every year. People really like it, and we're very proud to be able to offer it free of charge to anyone who chooses to come. And we've had people from many Cape Towns who have come.
So is it necessary to register for those, or can people just appear at the time?
No, they can just appear. There's
Okay.
no registration, no fee.
Okay,
It's free and
great.
open to the public.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
wonderful. So the Beatrix Potter, The Woman Behind the Rabbit, is going to be April 11th at 2, and that sounds like a really fun event. I'm hoping to go myself. So,
be good.
What else do you have going on?
Well, we have a fundraiser coming up, which is very exciting. We are having a luncheon at Mooncuster's Restaurant on May 17th, starting at 11:30 a.m., and we have the author Ann Hood coming to speak. And her most recent book is called The Book That Matters Most. And it is about a book club group and the books that they read and why they matter most to that particular person. So it's really fascinating. There's a story behind it, but also it leads you to remember and think about some of the best books that you've read in your lifetime.
It certainly does. When I was visiting on Saturday, Claire actually lent me the book, and so I've started it. I'm already halfway through and am really, really enjoying it. So I'm sure that's going to be an excellent event, and I look forward to meeting with Ann Hood.
She's a marvelous writer, and she's very popular on the Cape. She has penned The Obituary Writer, which was very well received. She has The Knitting Circle, The Red Thread, The Italian Wife, but she's a very popular writer. She pours a lot of her own past, I think, into her books, she just is a really interesting person to listen to. I've heard her speak before on a couple of occasions, and no matter how many times you've listened to Ann Hood, she always inspires you and has wonderful things to offer about her books. And this book was very interesting to me because the book club chooses one book every month, obviously, to read, and they're the books that matter most. Well, they turn out to be some of the most classic pieces of literature. And as I went through them, I realized that there were a couple that I hadn't read yet. So, you know, now I'm inspired to go back and read the book because there's a quote from the book at the beginning of every chapter. And so what I want to do is go back and read this book, the book that matters most. I want to read this book to see why Anne chose that particular book and that particular quote for the book club of the month.
Yeah.
How did it fit with the underlying storyline? So I think it's going to be a very interesting day, and I think we've formatted it so that we hope it will be a very interesting day.
It's many books within a book. That's really what's
It
exciting
is.
about it.
Exactly, and Anne herself was at a point in her life when she joined a book club, and it really changed her life. She needed the companionship, the friendship, and she needed to think about the books that she had read. So it has a lot of meaning to her, and I'm sure she'll bring that to our luncheon and talk about it. Our format is set up so that when people come in, there will be a talk, and we will have refreshments served while she is speaking. Then afterwards we will have the luncheon, and after the luncheon we will have dessert and questions and answers. And we're hoping that people at Mooncuster's, where the tables are smaller, will have a small discussion at the table and come up with some questions jointly so that we can ask Anne some questions and answers. And of course, she will have books for signing and for sales. So we look forward to that.
What a great format. So that's Wednesday, May 17th, 11:30 to 2:30 at Mooncuster's.
And it is a fundraiser for the library, so the tickets are $45 each. They are available at Chase Library anytime we're open, and we are open Tuesdays from 10 to 4 and Saturdays from 10 to 2. You can also call the library for information. The number is 432-2610.
Okay. Well, that all sounds lovely, and I am personally delighted to have been able to learn about the Chase Library and to spend more time there, and certainly to attend some of these events.
Well, we welcome you, and we welcome anybody
Right.
who is interested in the library. There is no fee for membership. We are not a private library. We're a public library, so we welcome everyone to come in. We have a lot of bestsellers like Anne's books with no waiting list because we're not a clams library. Therefore, our waiting lists are a lot shorter, and we have a good selection of bestsellers, as well as older books, too.
And the interesting thing is if you do come to Chase Library and you come often, we get to know you and you get to know us. But every time someone comes into the library and returns a book, and I happen to be the volunteer at the circulation desk that day, I'll say, so what did you think? And so we get personal reviews from people who borrow the books. We all read them, so we share opinions about them, but then we get reader opinions as well. And if you're a regular patron of the library, we get to know the types of books that you like to read, and so you can walk through the door and say, I need a really good book today. And you'll get about 3 choices. You're certainly free to look around, but you know, if you want to just ask for a suggestion, we can pretty much tailor our suggestions to what we know about your reading style.
It's so great.
So
It's not only personal opinions, but personal attention.
Right.
And quite expert.
We
So
even
it's
do
wonderful.
We even do curbside delivery. We have a couple of patrons that can't get their way into the library, but we know what they like to read, so we bring them out to them in the parking lot.
Yep.
Full service library.
We are.
The Chase Library in West Harwich.
Right.
Yes.
At 7
Main Street.
Main Street. Okay.
The thing we probably need to share with you, though, is if you're trying to find us. We are really sandwiched between 7-Eleven and Vieira, and we're landlocked. So prior ownership at Friendly's and now the people at Vieira are kind enough to allocate the far spaces of the parking lot, of their parking lot, to patrons of Chase Library. So the trick is when you're coming to the library, you need to turn into the parking lot for Vieira restaurant and then go all the way to the far end. It's very hard sometimes if you've never been to our library before to figure out how to get to the front door. So there is a sign on the road, a blue library sign with an arrow pointing to Vieira parking lot, but just for people who may not have come before, I'd like to make it easy for you to come and visit us.
So if you go, that's the way to go.
That's correct.
And so I would strongly urge everyone to check it out. It's a wonderful place and a great amenity for Harwich.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.